Shalom, friends. Let's start off with a riddle. What is the one thing that you cannot duplicate or imitate? And the answer is being original. There's only one original, and everything after that might look like the original, but it isn't. Now, of course, it has been said that imitation is the highest form of flattery. Everyone would like to be like the original. So, and this is true whether it be in art or in philosophy or in buildings and architecture or in food or just about anything. There's an original, and if this is the original and it's good, then people will try to imitate it. Truth is something which is really original. Truth is a type of I don't know if the word is commodity, or truth is the type of a ism, or the type of I actually don't have the right word. Perhaps you, my dear listener, will come with the right word. But truth is something that people admire and know it exists, and it has many imitators. But when you imitate truth, it's not truth. So if I told you, this man is very truthful, 95% of the times he tells the truth, then obviously he's not a truthful person. He's an untruthful person who tells the truth 95% of the times, but he's not a truthful person. Or if a person were to say, I'm telling you the truth, there's only 2% exaggeration, that's 100% untruthful. On a personal level, I always found it very, very odd that in a court of law with a Bible or with all of the gravity, with a straight face, a person says, I will tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. And I was thinking to myself, which person could tell only the truth? I mean, if he's off by 1 inch, he's not telling the truth. What he's trying to say is, I promise to tell the truth as I see it or as I remember it. But that's not the absolute and unconditional truth. That's the truth which is subjective. In any case, you get my drift. There's an original, and then there's truth, and then there are many imitations of it, but it's not the same thing. Nothing can actually equal the original. Those that are very sensitive to truth are equally sensitive to an untruth. Point in case, an example is given about a great tzaddik who actually lived in a very, very poor place in Poland. And in his house, everything was literally bare basic. The furniture was wood. It wasn't even unpainted. It was unpainted. And he lived not better than anyone else, though he was their rabbi, a mentor of hundreds. One day, a fervent chassid, a follower, who always profited from consulting with the Rabbi, his advice was brilliant, decided that he'd like to buy a gift to the Rabbi. Knowing that the Rabbi refused to receive gifts, he decided to buy a silver candelabra, which would be used by the rabbi's wife to usher in the Shabbos, figuring that, to honor the Holy Sabbath by lighting candles in a beautiful candelabra, maybe the Rebbe would agree with that. So he went, and when he was on his next business trip, and brought back 2 candelabras, gave it to the Rebbetzin, the Rebbe's wife, and she said, we'll see what the Rebbe says. In the afternoon, he walked into the room, making sure that everything was getting ready for the Holy Sabbath, for the Shabbos, and he notices these 2 silver menorahs, these 2 silver candlesticks, and he became very upset. He says, there are people in our town who can't even afford a candle for the Holy Shabbat and find it difficult to put food on their table, and in my house I will have silver? What kind of message is that? So she wanted to sort of calm him down, so to placate him, she said, don't worry, it's not silver, it's only silver plated. And that led him to be even more upset. Silver plated? It's not even real silver. So now we're bringing deceit into our home? And we just leave it like that. Of course, the message of the story is not that you should not have silver plated. The message of the story is that there have been people, and they exist till today, people that are they love truth so much that anything that smacks of an untruth or implies something less than the absolute, unconditional, unvarnished truth, they keep away from. In life, we often admire the original, but try to satisfy ourselves with an imitation. A very well-known and beloved parable. They tell of a poor person who came into a rich man's house, very generous man, and asked for a donation, and the generous man said sure, and gave him a beautiful donation. And then the rich man, noticing his face, which was pinched with hunger, said, please go into the kitchen. The cook is preparing lunch. Please take a lunch before you leave. And he thanked the host. He went into the kitchen, and it happened to be that that lunch consisted of blintzes, which is a type of a crepe, I think you pronounce it, and it has usually a filling. He had never smelt a blintz. It smelt heavenly, and he was presented with these 2 blintzes on a plate, and to him it tasted like manna from heaven. I mean, he literally licked the plate, and he then said to the cook, I've never tasted anything as delicious. So she said, good-naturedly, well, why don't you just ask your wife to make it? He says, well, what kind of ingredients do I need? Is it difficult? She said, no, it's rather simple. And you take 5 eggs and 2 cups of flour and a cup of sugar and a little vanilla and this and that. You put it together, and in no time you have a blintz. Anyway, fortified with a donation, with a belly filled with 2 delicious blintzes, he couldn't wait to go home and share the good news with his wife. Comes home, we have enough for the week of food, and we're going to celebrate now. I brought back a ingredient for blintzes, which I know you will love. And she says, sure. She was so excited to see her husband excited. It's been a very long time that either one of them became excited about food. They were just used to the usual of bread and potatoes and maybe a couple of onions. But something to be excited about, tell me what it is. She said, well, let's see if I remember correctly, 3 eggs. She says, I have to tell you, I only have 1 egg. She said, that's not a problem. 1 egg, just add some water. Okay. What next? A cup of flour. She looks at her husband. We don't have a cup of flour. I said, well, what do we have? She says, I have a half a cup of bran. Yeah, put that in, that's fine. And we need a half a cup of sugar. She says, what, do you think we're Rothschild? So how much sugar do we have? She says, barely a teaspoon. Put in the teaspoon. And she mixes this whole thing together and fries it. And of course, it does not taste like a blintzer. Why? Because you can't substitute certain ingredients for inferior ingredients. If I ask you what makes a vibrant Jewish family, you say, well, Shabbos, kosher, family time, study of Torah. He said, okay, you know what? I'm not ready to keep kosher, but you know what? Let's do an imitation. How about kosher style Friday night? What do you say to that? It's kosher style. It might have some kosher ingredients. Friends, blintzes without eggs and flour don't taste like blintzes. Kosher style is not kosher. So, well, how about, let's see, we need family time? I know what we'll do. We'll all watch TV together. That's family time. Friends, watching a screen together is not the same thing as talking together or playing together or doing arts and crafts together. Okay, let's see. We have to do something about the Jewish study. How about once a week, Hebrew school for 2 hours? Well, that's good. Assuming that the 2 hours are actually spent studying, assuming that it's the beginning of more study. But if it's instead of daily study of an adult and being involved in the study of the Sunday school, then that's like kosher style. And I could keep going on, but I'm sure you might think of some ideas on yourself where there's a beautiful original and then we feel maybe a little challenged to reach the original, so we suffice with poor imitations and they don't taste like blintzes. So yes, imitation is a form of flattery, but it's not the original. I would actually end this thought even with the days of the Mashiach. Our tradition tells us that when the righteous Mashiach will come, there'll be a change for the better, not only amongst Jewish people, amongst the world. There won't be any war, there won't be any disease. People will be occupied with intellectual pursuits of getting knowledgeable about God, and so on and so forth. And we say, well, that's the original, but what would be an imitation? Well, everyone could read, everyone could be on the internet, so there's a lot of educational stuff available. And most of the countries have signed on that they don't want to go to war anymore. And science is making tremendous progress in finding a cure for cancer, and so on and so forth, which is all positive. But it's not the original. So what we need is a little bit of authenticity. What we need is not truth-like, but truth. What we really are yearning for is a true connection to God, to our people, to our culture, and actually the world to the Almighty. So shalom, and may you be a true seeker of truth.